What's up with it? You watching the Bank Bomber TV. And yeah, we about to check out this video from the YouTube channel Rumors Club. And the title is 50 Cent Reveals Why Jim Jones is Scared of Max B. Yeah, man, that's a fool with it. Welcome home, Max B, man. I ain't gonna lie, he was in there for a minute. There was a few times too they was talking about he was about to get released, and then the time come and he didn't get released, man. So yeah, man, they finally didn't let him up out of there. Yeah, I know he happy to get out for real. Yeah, man, that Jim Jones and Max B beef been going on for a while. And I remember hearing rumors about Max B trying to mess with Jim Jones' wife or messing with her or something like that, man. So yeah, man, I think Jim Jones might be in his feelings about that or something. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, it's been a lot of people trying to squash that beef. But yeah, man, it seemed like Jim's still in his feelings, man, for real though. But when it come down to it though, man, you don't be playing with nobody's wife. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, he might have a valid reason to not want to deal with him. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, I haven't checked out the video. Don't completely know what they talking about, but let's check it out and see what they talking about.
I don't owe nothing. He got all his songs already. How you think he got so hot? Came out with all them tapes. I did that. I put them hooks together. I made incredible music. All he did was rhyme 16s. Well, you know, I made incredible. I made the hooks. I made the melodies. Yeah. I made the shit, dog. I'm the man. I banged it just enough to get my room so I could ram his shit up, ram it up his ass. Right? My window was there. He tried to grab, so he came in the window.
He punched, pepper sprayed, and rammed Jim Jones's Bentley, all while smashing his wife. Max B and Jim Jones were once like brothers.
So Jim Jones, compare the names. Look, Max Bigavel, Jim Jones. That don't even add up. That's not on my level, man.
But the second that bond broke, it became Harlem's coldest war. This is the story of how a ghostwriter became a ghost, how loyalty turned into lies, and how one man's betrayal sparked a vendetta so vicious that it's still burning today. Before the beef, before the bloodshed, before the bars, there was love. Max B and Jim Jones weren't just label mates, they were family, brothers. Jim called Max his secret weapon, his hitmaker, the voice that could turn any track into a street anthem. Max trusted Jim with everything, his sound, his future, his wave. But in the music industry, trust is the most expensive currency you can spend. And Jim Jones, he was about to cash out. When that betrayal hit, Max didn't just walk away. He turned his former brother into his worst nightmare. He snatched his girl, trashed his Bentley, and set Harlem on fire with the kind of chaos that legends are made of. But to understand how it got this dark, you gotta understand where Max came from. Charlie Wingate, better known as Max B, was born into survival mode. Harlem's Abraham Lincoln housing projects weren't just his neighborhood, they were his training ground. Pain was the curriculum. His mother was locked in a battle with crack addiction, and eventually ended up behind bars herself. Max was raised by his grandmother, but the streets were always calling, always testing him. Still, there was something different about him. While other kids were on the corner, Max found his voice in the boys' choir of Harlem. That's where he developed that melodic, hypnotic flow, the one that would later be called wavy. Even then, music was his escape, his weapon, his way out, but the streets caught up. In 1997, Max was arrested for robbery and locked up for 8 years. 8 years of watching the world move without him. 8 years of rage building. 8 years of plotting his comeback. When he walked out in 2005, he wasn't Charlie Wingate anymore. He was Max Bigavelli, a name he pieced together from his heroes, Biggie, Tupac, Machiavelli, Jay-Z. He carried their legacy in his name and their hunger in his chest. The streets were about to meet a different animal.
My name is Max B, aka Max Bigavel. We know Bigavel stands for Big Jig and Pac, right? But where did the name... Yeah.
Post-prison Harlem was a different beast. The diplomats ruled everything. Cameron and Jim Jones had the city on lock, and if you wanted to make noise, you needed their stamp. Cameron saw something in Max, something raw and undeniable. He reintroduced him to Jim Jones, and just like that, Max was signed to Bird Gang Records. The comeback was official. Max linked up with producer Dame Grease and started cooking. His first mixtape, $1 Million Baby, dropped in 2006 and tore through the streets like a hurricane. No radio play, no major label push, just pure Harlem grit and that wavy sound that nobody could duplicate. Jim's roster was stacked. Stack bundle.
I ain't gonna lie, I think Max B definitely a talented rapper. And he really a good song maker too. And his music got like that player vibe too, you know what I'm saying? And it's players all over the world, man. When it come down to like that player type music, I think Max B one of the best that make that type of music for real though.
Was another rising star, and together with Max, Bird Gang looked unstoppable. But Max was the secret weapon. His hooks were infectious, his melodies were addictive, and his presence elevated everything Jim touched. Max wasn't just making music. He was making Jim Jones look like a superstar, and that's when Jim started seeing dollar signs. But while Max was building his career, his past was building a case. In 2006, Max's ex-girlfriend, Gina Conway, came to him with a story. She told him about Alan J. Plowden, a rich scammer sitting on a mountain of dirty money. Easy target, easy payday. Max allegedly put together a plan with Gina and his stepbrother, Kelvin Leardom, nicknamed Sims. They were supposed to hit the house, grab the cash, and disappear. Quick and clean, but nothing ever goes according to plan. They showed up late. Plowden wasn't alone. He had guests. Panic set in. The room got tense. And then, in a moment that would destroy lives, Sims pulled the trigger. David Taylor was executed, shot point blank, execution style. The house became a crime scene. The robbery became a murder. And Max became the #1 suspect. Gina was arrested and immediately flipped. She testified that Max was the mastermind, the one who orchestrated everything. Max was hit with felony murder charges and slapped with a $2 million bail. From the top of the game to the inside of a cell. Just like that in Jim Jones, he was watching, calculating. Now here's where the story turns into something uglier. While Max was sitting in jail, fighting for his freedom, Jim Jones dropped "We Fly High," ballin'. The song went nuclear. Radio, clubs, MTV, everywhere. It was Jim's biggest hit, his career-defining moment. But Max said he ghost wrote it. He claimed he wrote that record and several others for Jim, giving him the hooks, the melodies, the wave that made the songs hit. And Jim never credited him, not once.
I ain't gonna lie, that makes sense, man. For real, the song really didn't sound like a Jim Jones Dipset type of song. You know what I'm saying? It definitely hit different to be coming from their camp. I'm thinking it's a big possibility Max B definitely could have ghost rolled that or something, man. It definitely do sound like a Max B vibe a little bit, for real.
Instead, Jim came to Max with an offer. He'd bail him out, but only if Max signed over his publishing rights and agreed to a 6-album deal. Max was desperate, staring down a murder charge with no way out, no other options. So he signed, Jim got the publishing. Max got temporary freedom but lost control of everything he'd built. His music, his sound, his wave. It all belonged to Jim Jones now. That's the moment the love died. That's the moment Max realized his brother had sold him out for profit. Jim didn't save him. He bought him, and Max would never forget it. Max was released from jail in July 2007, but freedom tasted bitter. He was broke, betrayed, blacklisted, watching Jim profit off the wave he created while he got nothing. The rage was building, burning in his chest, and Max wasn't the type to let things slide. He looked around and realized he'd been played. Jim had his publishing, his sound, his credibility.
I'm in his drive already. I don't owe nothing. He got all his songs already. How you think he got so hot? Came out with all them tapes. I did that. I put them hooks together. I made incredible music. All he did was rhyme 16s. Well, you know, I made the hooks. I made the melodies. Yeah, I made the shit, dog. I'm the man.
Max had walked into that jail cell as Jim's secret weapon and walked out as his ghost. But ghosts can haunt you. Max walked away from Bird Gang with one thing on his mind: revenge. Max didn't go quiet. He went underground. He linked up with another Harlem spitter who had his own issues with Jim Jones, a young French Montana. Together, they formed Coke Wave, a street movement built on raw talent and pure spite. With no label backing, no major distribution, no industry support, Max flooded the streets with free music. Mixtapes on mixtapes. He gave the fans everything, and they loved him for it. His wave was spreading faster than ever, but it wasn't just about the music anymore. This was war, and Max was loading up the ammunition. He started dissing Jim Jones openly, calling him out in interviews, roasting him on tracks, exposing the betrayal for the world to see. Max wasn't hiding. He wanted smoke. And Jim was about to get burned. Then came Public Domain 3, the diss tape that turned the beef into a spectacle. The cover art alone was disrespectful. Max mocked Jim Jones and Jules Santana, calling them Milli Vanilli, fake artists riding off other people's talent, lip-syncing their way to the top. Songs like Lip Sync and I Know Them Dudes Need Me tore into their credibility, painting them as frauds who needed Max to sound good.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, Max B definitely had some fire mixtapes, man. I definitely came across a few, And that was the type of tapes you would play again. You know what I'm saying? You know, sometimes dudes will drop music, you listen to it one time and just go on about your way or whatever. But I ain't gonna lie, Max B had some mixtapes that you would listen to over and over again. You know what I mean? But with Jim Jones playing him how he did, man, maybe Jim Jones scared to have him around or forgive him. You know what I'm saying? You know, he didn't played him. So yeah, man, he might think Max B out for revenge or something and feel like he can't trust him or something. But Jim definitely was shady how he did him, though.
But Max saved his most vicious shot for last. He dropped She Touched It in Miami, a track where he explicitly claimed he slept with Jim's girlfriend, Chrissy Lampkin. The streets went crazy. People believed Max. His legend grew while Jim's reputation took a massive hit. The man who ran Harlem was getting clowned by his former artist. Max wasn't just winning the rap battle, he was winning the culture war. He was turning Jim Jones into a joke. But the beef wasn't staying on wax. It was spilling into real life, and it was getting dangerous. Max claimed Jim tried to ambush him on the streets. So what did Max do? He rammed Jim's Bentley with his car and sped off. French Montana later confirmed the story.
Banged it just enough to get my room so I could ram it up in. Right? My window was there. He tried to grab it. So he came in the window. I punched him in his face.
That actually happened. Max literally crashed into Jim's luxury whip and kept moving. November 2008, Manhattan. Max and French rolled up to a studio where Jim was recording. Tensions exploded. Words were exchanged. Threats were made. Jim allegedly called the cops to defuse the situation. The situation was so hot that when their crews clashed again at a Brooklyn club, it turned into a full-on brawl.
That's crazy, man. So they saying Jim didn't call the police, man. That's crazy. Yeah, man. Jim Jones got allegations of telling out there, man. So yeah, if he called the police on Max B, man, I think that might be considered telling too. You know what I'm saying? For real though. And yeah, man. Max V violated though, man. For real though. He had Jim out there looking like a poo putt somewhat. For real.
9 units had to break it up. Police dogs. That's how wild it got. Max had turned Jim Jones into a punchline. The man who once ran Harlem was now dodging confrontations and calling police. Max became a cult hero. The underdog who refused to be silenced. The artist who stood up to power. But every war has casualties. And Max's was coming. While Max was winning in the streets, the law was closing in. June 9th, 2009. Bergen County Court. Max B stood trial for felony murder.
Right around that time, Max B gets found guilty on 9 of 11 counts, including felony murder. And he gets sentenced to, was it 75 years?
Yeah, 75.
His defense tried to paint Gina Conway as a scorned woman with an agenda, someone who flipped to save herself. But the prosecution had a different story. They called Max the mastermind, the puppet master behind a robbery that ended in murder. The jury deliberated, and when they returned, the verdict was brutal. Guilty on 9 of 11 counts, including felony murder and armed robbery. September 3rd, 2009, sentencing day. The judge handed down 75 years. Max wouldn't be eligible for parole until 2042. He'd be an old man if he made it out at all. At that moment, the wave stopped. The music stopped. Everything stopped. Max B was gone. And while Max rotted in a cell, Jim Jones kept cashing checks. He still owned Max's publishing, meaning every stream, every download, every play put money in Jim's pocket. And Jim, he mocked Max publicly, called him washed up, irrelevant, tried to erase him from Dipset history entirely. The betrayal was complete. Jim had taken everything. Max's sound, his money, his freedom. And now he was trying to take his legacy. But Max wasn't going to let that happen. In May 2010, a judge ruled that Max had fulfilled his contractual obligations to Jim Jones. The publishing rights were returned. Jim lost control of Max's music. It was a small victory, but it mattered. Max had something back. From prison, Max released Vigilante Season in 2011. Even locked up, his influence was undeniable. That wavy sound he pioneered, it became the blueprint for the next generation. Kanye, Drake, Wiz Khalifa, they all borrowed from Max's wave. The streets remembered. The culture remembered. Max B was still alive in the music. In 2016, Max's lawyers filed for post-conviction relief, arguing he'd received poor legal defense. The courts agreed. His 75-year sentence was vacated. Max pled guilty to aggravated manslaughter, and his sentence was reduced to 20 years, then 12. His new release date? November 9th, 2025. The wave was coming back, even from behind bars. Max B shaped hip-hop culture in ways most artists never could. Kanye West acknowledged him during the Waves album controversy and featured his voice on a track. Drake and Wiz Khalifa publicly credited him as an inspiration. His melodic style, his delivery, his entire aesthetic became the sound of a generation. Even Jim Jones admitted it. He said Max could have been bigger than Drake if he hadn't gone to prison. That's how talented Max was. That's how big the loss was. The wave
Man.
never stopped. It just waited. Today, Max B calls himself a changed man. He's a husband, a father of 4, and speaks about peace and forgiveness. Prison gave him perspective. It gave him time to reflect on everything. The choices, the consequences, the cost. French Montana and Jim Jones reconciled in 2023, squashed the beef, moved forward. But when asked about Max, Jim said his situation is different. No beef, but no friendship either. The wound is too deep. The betrayal cuts both ways. The coldest wars don't always end with a bang. Sometimes they just freeze in place, unresolved, unforgiven, waiting. Max B is scheduled to walk free on November 9th, 2025.
Yeah, man. Welcome home, Max B. Looked like he was going off on Jim Jones, man. Allegedly then smashed his wife, man, and crashed this luxury car, then banked on him, man. He violated Jim, man, for real, though. I definitely can understand why Jim don't want to be cool with him no more, man. Yeah, man, I definitely think Max B had a big influence on Jim Jones' sound, man, and career, man. Go back and listen to some of that old Dipset, man. Jim Jones definitely was the weak link, man, for real, though. So, yeah, man, I think it's a big possibility he stole Max B sound and ran with it, man, for real. But, yeah, man, hopefully we get some new music from Max B in this 5, man, because I ain't gonna lie, a lot of rappers been getting out and dropping music, and it ain't been 5, man. Yeah, man, I guess we'll find out soon when he drops something, if it's that 5 or it's just like, man, I don't know, man. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, man, let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. You watching the Big Mama TV. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. Until next time. All right.